John, to clarify one thing, because this is what Steve asked you, it is regarding the statement, the Russian side speaks positively of China's objective and impartial position on the Ukraine issue. It is the view of this government that China is no longer impartial or is not impartial when it comes to this.
We never said China was an impartial participant here.
Does that, and does this statement, does this meeting improve or make it more difficult for President Biden to ever meet again with President Xi, at least anytime soon?
President
to
Biden,
discuss this and other issues?
the president wants to keep the lines of communication open with China. Nothing's changed about that. And as I said yesterday, at the appropriate time, we'll pursue another conversation with President Xi.
And in a semi-related matter, the president of Taiwan has now announced their plans to come to the United States briefly and then head to Central America. Are there any plans for any U.S. officials to meet with the president of Taiwan when they're in the United States?
This is, as you know, these are called transits, not uncommon. President Tsai has done it 6 times. Every single Taiwan president in recent memory has done this. It is unofficial and personal in nature in terms of travel. So we would let them speak to their agenda, to who they want to meet with, and on what timeline. It is not uncommon for in previous transits for there to be discussions with U.S. officials and with members of Congress. But again, I'm not going to get ahead. This is really for Taiwan to speak to.
So maybe.
This is for Taiwan to speak to.
Good, John.
Thank you, Karine. Thank you, Admiral. On the idea of Russia seeking weapons and munitions, can you give us an assessment right now as to where things stand in terms of their weapons stockpile, Russia's weapons stockpile, and what sort of help are they getting at this moment from places like Iran and North Korea?
Well, we know that they have a burgeoning defense relationship with Iran. We already know that Iran has provided several hundred drones. And we have every reason to suspect that that sort of transaction will continue. I don't have any specific shipments to speak to today, but we know that this relationship from a defense perspective with those two countries is getting sharper. I came to the podium and talked about that. And that's a worry not just for the people of Ukraine, it's a worry for the people of the Middle East. And Iran that can avail itself of Russian military capabilities would make it more lethal and more dangerous in the region. We did talk about the fact that we had evidence that North Korea was shipping, at the very least, artillery shells to the Wagner Group. We still believe that that occurred. I don't have any additional shipments of things to speak to. But again, I think it speaks volumes to your question about inventory. And I couldn't give you a rundown of Russian inventory on any given type of system. But they have gone through thousands of missiles and most likely millions of artillery shells. They have lost easily tens of thousands of troops and probably north of 100,000 in terms of killed and wounded. So this has not been a fight Mr. Putin has had without cost to his country and to his coffers. And so he continually wants to reach out for more help internationally. That's what we're seeing with Iran. So we saw with North Korea, and there's no question that's what we're seeing in his interest in talking to President Xi. But we know that this war has had an effect on his inventory, and we also know, Jonathan, that the sanctions and export controls have had an effect on him, particularly when it comes to cruise missiles, that his ability to restock cruise missiles out of the inventory has been curtailed by the fact that he can't get some of the microelectronics because of the economic steps that this administration has taken to kind of curb his war-making machine. So this is a guy, for all the ballyhoo going to Mariupol, I mean, this is a guy who has to know that his military is way underperforming and overspending in terms of its ability, its resource ability.
Yeah, Justin and Robert.
Thanks.